Okay, that's a tough one. My name is Paul Luke Bonenfant, but I go by Luke. I was about 5, my sister was playing piano, and I also wanted to play piano, so I just kind of picked it up and then just ended up going with it, and, for the rest of my life. I'd never really done acting before. I'd just really done music, and I guess somehow I got involved with a community theater. I guess like for the first time when I was about 12 or 11, and I did one youth production of something, and then over the summer, and then that following fall and winter, the director of the first youth production was doing the first youth production of School of Rock the musical, which had just opened on Broadway. And so he asked me to audition. So he asked me to audition to be one of the characters in it, and I only played piano, and I had kind of picked up ukulele, but he asked me to play Zach, the guitar player. So in 2 months I learned guitar, and it wasn't good, but I did it. And then somehow kids from the Broadway show I gotta go back a little bit. So, while we were rehearsing for it, somehow we got to be able to see the Broadway show and meet the kids in the Broadway show after. And then it somehow turned out that their day off was the day of our dress rehearsal, and they came to see our youth production, which was very strange, because, that was like a cool thing, but it was so unexpected, because what are the odds that kids from the Broadway show are gonna come to see your youth production? But so, and then after I got in touch with some of them, and one of them told me to send in a video audition for the Broadway show. So I made an audition, and I put it on YouTube, and then I got called in for an in the room audition, and I guess for about 6 hours I was just in and out of the audition room doing like the same stuff, different stuff. Even at one point they asked me to dance, which I'd never done ever, so that was interesting. And then I guess like 2 weeks later I got a call that was like from the casting director, and she said that they wanted to cast me in the show as what's called a swing, which it's kind of like an understudy, but for multiple parts. So I covered all the boys in the cast. So that would be like the guitar player, and the piano player and drummer, and the security guard and stylist, I don't know, everything. For the callback, they asked us to go into New York, into the rehearsal studio that we didn't know was the rehearsal studio for the show. We just thought it was a random studio that they were using, but it's like after I got cast and went in for rehearsals, I found out it's their rehearsal studio, which, fun fact, it's right below the rehearsal studio that Hamilton has. So sometimes we'd get lucky and meet some people. Being in a Broadway show is a cool experience because I get a lot of people come to see it each night, and you never know who's going to be there that wants to come backstage and meet the kids. I have a list on my phone of like random celebrities that would come back and take pictures after the show. My first day actually was one of the most hectic days out of every day that out of the year that I was in the show, because it was like a Wednesday, I think it was my sister's birthday too, and we had gone to New York. It was like my second rehearsal, or like my first, I don't remember, but so I did the rehearsal, I met some of the cast members, and then I went to watch the show. And then after like about halfway through the show, we went back to the rehearsal studio, and after the show we got called back because Heidi Klum had come and wanted to take a picture backstage, and it was my first press picture, and it was actually the worst picture of me ever taken. But it ended up in People magazine, which was funny. So yeah, that's a great story of my first day there.
So it was like your first time ever
meeting someone famous like that, and I took an awful picture that ended up all over the internet. Yeah. Yep. So we met Bruno Mars. That was like awesome. Trying to think. I don't have my phone. Yeah, I mean, well, Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote the music to it, and he would. I know. And so he would come periodically, and then he'd say hi to all the kids, and yeah, he was a really cool person. Luke. And he would always be like, "Oh, hello, Luke." Being in a Broadway show is extremely intense, especially rehearsals, I guess, because, so in June of 2016 is when I was my first rehearsal, when I got cast and everything, and I basically got thrust into the rehearsal process, like, right away, which was, so there's 8 shows a week, 6 days a week, so it was like a Monday night show, Tuesday night show, Wednesday matinee, which is like a 2 p.m., and then Thursday was off. And then there was a Friday night show, 2 shows Saturday and 2 shows Sunday, and then it would start again with Monday. So not only did I have to attend every show, but I had about a 3-hour rehearsal before each show, and sometimes I would have, like, Wednesday nights. I would have a little rehearsal in the morning, I'd go to the show, and then I would have another 3-hour rehearsal after. So I ended up and because I was a swing, I had to learn 5 and like kind of 6 parts. It was pretty intense because it was almost daily rehearsals and then attending the 8 shows. So I don't even know how many hours a week I spent not eating because like I just didn't have time. So yeah, it was pretty intense, or not even just rehearsals, just going to the show in general, because it took about an hour each way. So that's like 2 hours in the car. A 2.5-hour show with an hour warm-up in the beginning, and then another 3-hour rehearsal after that. So I don't know, each summer day was and this doesn't count the weekends when there were 2 shows. I don't know, let's do this math real quick. So 2 hours in the car, 3.5 hours, so you got 5.5 hours, and then another 3-hour rehearsal, so 8.5-hour day in New York, plus the in-between time. So I don't know.
So, and you live like far away from like School of Rock, so
yep, like an hour away.
Go home?
Yeah. We didn't. A lot of kids would get apartments, but instead, I had my Easy Pass, whatnot. Yeah. It's expensive.
Yeah. Like, how late did you have to stay up? Like.
So I went my entire 7th grade year in School of Rock, going to public school. Like, now that I'm in 8th grade, I go to online school because I continue to do auditions even though I'm not in the show. But I'd wake up at around 6:30. I'd go to school around 7:15, and then I had a special schedule where all my classes were periods 1 through 6, and then I would leave around 7th period. I would have an hour to do homework and eat. I would either have a lesson, depending on the day, like a music lesson, or I would just go into the city early, have a quick food, and then go to the show and come home around 11:30, and then try to get to bed before 1 o'clock before waking up at 6:30 the next morning. So yeah, actually, fun fact, in the 14 months that I was in School of Rock, I gained 2 pounds, which is not healthy. It's tough. It's an extreme sacrifice for parents, yeah. Sorry, Mom. In School of Rock, we did 6-month contracts at a time. So at the end of my first 6-month contract, I started another one, and that was my last contract. But during that second 6 months, I ended up going out and getting an agent that found me through YouTube, and a manager, and then now I have another manager. But really, I guess School of Rock really gave me notoriety in the community of acting and music, for people to kind of sort of know who I am, and that I have a credit now that kind of makes me, I guess, legit. I don't know, like if this person cast him, why shouldn't I cast him? Or if this person gave him a job, someone else will, so I want to get in on that, or whatnot. Kind of like you can become a commodity. School of Rock is kind of a special show because most movies that become Broadway shows sometimes kind of like lose the effect that the movie gives you a little bit because it becomes less intimate, or like some elements of the movie that were just so amazing are kind of missing. But I feel like School of Rock as a movie didn't have too many sets. It didn't have some kind of like weird CGI that you can't quite make into a Broadway show, and the element that Andrew Lloyd Webber brought to it by adding like extremely like good music to it, just kind of really added to the experience and like the story of the movie, and they added plot lines, and I don't know, it was just, I personally, all bias aside, I like the play better. It's, I don't know.
Well, it switched the focus from the grown-up to the kids.
Yeah. It focuses, I guess, more on the kids. It adds like a whole entire scene about the kids' home life and what they're going through too, instead of just showing that through when they're at school. So I don't know. And like the really sad song, "If Only You Would Listen," like, I don't know. It went to the Winter Garden in December. It opened December 15th or something like that. Yeah. It opened December 15th, 2015. So it would be eligible for the
summer.
Yeah.
Right?
So he was probably in the building, but maybe not live.
Yeah. Oh, you saw it in the summer. Then that was when I was in rehearsals.
Oh, really?
Yep.
If it was July, if it was August, he was backstage.
If it was August, I might have been performing. I actually did perform a significant amount that August.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It might have been because Sophia's birthday is August 9th, and we sang.
Oh yeah, we did, because we went to...
Did you go on the 9th?
My first performance was August 2nd.
I don't think it was
August
my
3rd?
birthday.
I don't know.
Was it there before or after? Actually, we might have seen you.
Maybe.
He was James. His first couple of performances, he played James.
My Broadway debut was James. I remember the weirdest moment was when the curtain, like, okay, so you know how the kids get, do you remember, like, the kids get revealed in this, like, song about Horace Green, the school? And this giant wooden panel goes up, like, with the automation that, like, happens backstage. And then, like, the kids just kind of get revealed and start walking and singing and going in, like, these, like, army-style formations. And I don't know, that song's really tough because there's all kinds of weird harmonies going on too, like with singing. And like whenever the panel goes up, you can't see the audience, but you just see this vast darkness that like is endless. And like I remember it going up and I was just like, what? Like it was not anything I expected.
Yeah, it's like when you're on stage, all the lights are like in your face, so you can't see.
Mm-hmm.
Which is in a good in a way, because...
My favorite role to do was Zach, because If Only You Would Listen, whenever the song would start, I would be like right on stage right 2, so like almost in center, because like the staging was really particular. But and then there'd like the spotlight would come, and then I'd be like right on the edge of the stage, and I could see kind of like the first row people. But that was like probably one of the most intimate moments, because it's like one kid at a time, just kind of like right there, and it's like you're almost like talking to all these people like singularly, and that was a cool moment. I went to public school until this year, 8th grade. So that was, I auditioned for School of Rock in the end of 6th grade. I found out like on one of the last days of school that I had gotten cast, and then I did rehearsals over the summer, and I went all of 7th grade in School of Rock doing school as well.
So that schedule thing, that just up to...
Oh god, yeah, no sleep.
Were you like noticed by like your classmates saying like, oh, you were in School of Rock?
It just kind of became normal.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it was...
Saw it on April 2nd, 2016.
I wasn't hired yet. Funny story about the Tonys. I never got to tell you that one. That was funny. Yeah, so the Tony Awards, because School of Rock opened in 2015, they opened the same year as Hamilton. And so even though we had gotten 4 nominations for Tony Awards, Hamilton won every category that we were nominated for. So that was interesting. But yeah, and then I watched the Tonys, and I watched all the people that I had been like communicating with, and like I had just auditioned and everything, and it was just like this really cool experience. And then the next day is when I got hired. So I was like, the Tony gift. Like they were like, yeah, you did the Tonys. Have a Luke.
Yeah.
And I'm like, sorry.
That's funny. Like, it probably like could have been bigger than Hamilton.
Yeah, I don't know. If we had opened in 2016, I feel like we would have won.
Yeah.
Just maybe.
But you sent me the pictures for it.
Yeah.
So about the school thing.
Yeah, sorry, I keep getting off track. Yeah, school.
Yeah. So like. Yeah, like public school. Like, how was it? Like, for you?
It was cool. I mean, it wasn't weird. Like, everyone just kind of accepted that I was, like, kind of going and doing stuff. I'm not the first person in my school to be in a Broadway show. Actually, one of the girls who was in Matilda, she actually did the opposite thing I did, where she was doing online school while she was in the show, and when she was done, she came back to public school.
Oh.
But, like, I just went to public school, and now I'm in online school after. But, you know.
So you're not in it anymore, right?
No. So in June of 2016, I was cast, and I went through rehearsals. I was in the show, did all my performances and whatnot, and then in August of this year, actually July 30th was my last official day, but it's really hard to find new swings. So one of the other cast members had to stay past my leave, and he went on vacation. So I had to fill in for him, who had been filling in for me until they found my replacement. Usually, this is where it gets really weird. Usually, when someone leaves School of Rock, it's because they get too tall, over 5 feet, or they look too old, or they've been in it and for a very long time, and like they want to leave. In July, I didn't renew my contract, and I left. And actually, 2 days later, I got cast in a TV show that's on the CW called Dynasty, and I was in the pilot episode, playing young Steven. Yeah. The show's still going on, but really the plot line that I was in was like a young version of the characters, and it was only like a one-time thing, but it was still fun, you know.
Yeah.
It's fun. Actually, and then after I did that, we decided I was going to go to online school if I was going to keep doing auditions and potentially get jobs. So then after that, I started online school in September, and I wrote a bunch of songs over the summer, and I chose 5 to record into like a little EP, kind of like a self-produced thing to put in streaming platforms that I'm currently working on. But I continued doing online school and setting up what I was going to record for my EP, and then in December I recorded my EP in the studio, and then I booked another job, like a commercial for Nickelodeon that was like about SpongeBob, so that was fun. And then in like January, what's called pilot season started, which is where all networks are pushing for new shows and trying to film for the fall season, or just for the end of for like the spring season of TV shows, and everyone's trying to get kids to be in their shows, and so they can make a pilot and hopefully get it greenlit to be put on the air. So there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on, and there's lots and lots of auditions, and so I continued kind of working on my EP, but I was getting like 3 to 4 auditions a week, which was kind of insane, and they were like pretty long, because TV auditions for like the main roles, they give you like 8 pages of lines that you have to do on a self-tape by like tomorrow. which is, you know, it's cool. I know a lot of kids, like, they don't like the audition process because it's kind of tedious, but it really, like, the pro-con of like audition being the con and getting the job being the pro so outweighs the con that for me personally I just don't mind. But so I did one audition in January for a show that the first week of February we got called that I had booked it, and I can't give details yet. Pretty much all of February in Mexico City filming for this, and it's gonna come out in the fall. That's just kind of an interesting thing now that I've gone from like more Broadway to more TV and music stuff. Especially TV is just so much different of like an acting thing than Broadway, because like you send in a tape, if they like you they'll cast you almost right away. But there's just a lot of like internal casting that goes on. Like your tape goes from casting directors to the head of casting, and then that goes to the director and the producers, and they all kind of sit in a meeting and pick which kid. They put you on like a pin board. They go through all the kids, go like pros, cons, who did it best, who fits the character description, and then they like finalize a contract and then tell you, which is, it could take up to like a month, but this one was really interesting because usually once they pick you, they do what's called a screen test, where they bring you in with the other characters and they test your like chemistry on screen and like how you do in front of a camera, like on set. But for this one, because it was filming in Mexico City and they only had a month and everything was on location, they took everyone in off of a tape, and they told us that we had to go to Mexico about 5 days before our plane took off, and we were in Mexico. So that's interesting. But for TV acting wise, everything is so much different, because not only is like all your travel and stay paid for, but there's always this like endless team of people making sure that everything is going completely perfect, and everything's different every day. And there's always like just the acting style itself is different, because on Broadway you have to almost exaggerate a little bit what's going on and like really feel what's going on in order to show the whole audience like physically what's going on, and how your character is feeling and what's going on in the, I just said what's going on like 7 times.
You have to put it out there more.
Yeah, you just have to really show what's happening in the scene. But in TV, everything, because everything's so still and up close, it's more in your face, and everything acting wise is a bit more subtle, and that's just kind of what I've noticed. There's just a little bit of a level of exaggeration when you're doing something on Broadway versus on film. I don't know if I like watching myself. It's weird watching myself or like listening to my songs. It's just strange.
Yeah, it's like listening to your voice. It's like
it's a surreal experience, because it's like usually when you watch a TV show, like you expect like actors, and a lot of times like you kind of hold them to like some kind of standard, like, wow, it'd be so weird if I met someone like that. But like when you're watching yourself especially, it just gets so weird. Like even if it's like even if you're just an extra walking in the background, like TV is just kind of like a whole different land. I like filming it. I love becoming characters. I guess I've just kind of become like, at first it was a lot stranger, but like now I just kind of pay attention like less. It just doesn't affect me as much, because I have to watch all my tapes back. What's really strange is listening to my song recordings. That's the strangest, because like when you listen to a song, it's like, you know, whether it's like easy listening or something you want to like jam out to, when you're listening to yourself, like all I hear is like the parts where I like said something strange or like, I don't know, it's weird. Like even if I want to just sit there and enjoy the song, I can't, because it's me.
You really like nitpicking.
Yeah, it's strange.
And like, is it true like when you hear yourself, it like sounds different to other people? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it does sound different.
Yeah. Cause it's like yourself, and you're like, it's you, so yeah.
Yeah, I guess I just have to hear my recordings more often, so I just kind of get numb to that too, like watching myself on tape.
Yeah. So you went from like doing music to community theater to Broadway, then to film, and then
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. It's.
Have you been doing like anything with theater anymore, or it's more like film? Or...
I've done some theater auditions. I guess, really, on Broadway, there's a very small window of kids, because, like, for a lot of teenager shows, they hire adults. Like, Mean Girls just opened, and all of the teenagers that are in that show, like, in the movie, they were teenagers. In the play, they're all adults. Broadway really only hires kids when they need really little kids. I don't think I've ever seen a kid in a Broadway show or an audition for any kids in any Broadway shows where the kids have to be over 5 feet. Really, they want kids under 5 feet, because if there are going to be kids in the show, they'd like them really, really little. Like in School of Rock, there is a height limit. You have to, actually, they keep lowering it for how tall you have to be before you even are allowed to audition.
So you have to be like, so 5 feet? Like?
Mine, when I auditioned, I was 4'9", and the height limit was 5 feet.
Wow.
So yeah, I was well in it. I was good.
It's now 4'10".
Yeah, now they don't want, you have to be 4'10" now in order to audition. Yeah, it's slower. I enjoy acting a lot, in music and performing and in any kind of way, whether it be on stage or behind a camera. If you want to get into this, the first step is to get good at what you're doing. Like, you have to get good. You have to, I don't know, whether it be music or acting, the first step is to get good at it. And the second step is to get confident in your abilities. Like, you can be good, but if you're not confident, it won't come through in your performance. Yeah, if you're not confident, it won't come through in your performance, and it won't be necessarily entertaining, like, especially for Broadway. If you're shy, it will definitely come through in your performance, and it'll be really hard to portray a character. But,
And in the audition.
yeah, or just in the audition. Like, it's so much better to make a fool of yourself being out there and not worrying about, like, doing something wrong, because that's genuine. And a lot of acting and, like, mastering it is just being genuine. It's like, there are acting principles that can definitely be taught, but if you can't get into character and, like, empathize with, or just, like, become a character, that's, like, if that's acting, that's getting good. If you can become a character, you're automatically golden. If you can, convincingly, I should say. But, like, if you could just become a convincing character, which is really hard to teach, that is the level of when you've become good at acting. And at that point, if you can become a character, or if you can play your instrument or whatever, and if you're confident in your abilities and you're willing to show other people, then what you do is you find ways to get into the industry itself. So if you want to do Broadway, the best thing to do is, and obviously this whole time, if you want to get good, take lessons, and or if that's not an option, go on, like, YouTube. There are plenty of online free lessons for many things. And another good thing to mention is if you don't have a problem, don't try to fix it. If you already have the ability to get into character and do it convincingly and well, don't keep trying to find new ways to do it, because you'll end up screwing up, like, your instinct that you already have. So so you're confident in your ability. You have your ability. Now, the next step is to keep getting good while trying to get into the industry. So the best way to get into Broadway stuff is to find an agent, and the best way to do that is to do camps and workshops, where at the end, like, especially in New York, or even like, find one locally, like community theater. You never know who's gonna come to see that show. So just practice performing, practice doing that thing that you like to do for other people. And but Broadway workshops are a really, really great way to find agents, because a lot of times you do, like, a 3-week, like, call it like an intensive, where you learn a dance and you learn a song, and you learn, like, a piece of scene, and then at the end there's, like, a little theater with a bunch of agents and managers and casting directors, and you perform your little piece of, like, the song, scene, and whatever else. And then a lot of the times, agents will be writing down who they think is good, who they think has the right attitude, and they will get your contact information through the camp and then reach out to you. And a lot of times, if you've already had that step of getting good, being confident and practicing, performing, and being confident and good, it's pretty likely that someone will see that you have this natural ability and you have this practice and you're legitimate about doing what you want to do, and they will sign you and try to get you into roles. And that's a great way. Another way is to go on YouTube, because if you can't get into these camps, these people are always searching YouTube to find new talent, and or just try to meet people. Like if all you can do is go on YouTube and put out videos, that's golden, because if you put in the time to make quality videos, people will watch them and you'll gain a following. And once you have a following, it's a lot easier for people to see, hey, this person has a following, people must like them, they're castable, let's take them in and kind of help them break into getting roles. And that's a great way. TV is a lot harder, because in order to do TV, especially like big TV roles, you have to have a lot of experience, which for me, getting cast in this Amazon series was extremely unlikely, because even though I've been on Broadway and I've already done 2 TV things, that usually is not enough experience to be in a big TV show. A lot of casting directors and producers, they want someone who's been in a lot of stuff and they know will be professional, which I'd like to think that I act professionally on set, and I guess a lot of it is reputation. Like, if you do well on one thing, then whoever's involved will make sure they put in a good word. 2 little things to note here. One is, a lot of times with community theater, if a lot of local community theaters, especially like in New Jersey, have, like, a lot of times the people involved have connections to New York, and know people. And like I said, like, there's a lot of workshops that happen locally that can also like get New York connections or LA connections and stuff. And then another thing to note is practicing. Once you get good, that's not a reason to stop practicing. Yeah, it's definitely hard work. There's like all kinds of things that you'll hear, like you gotta put 10,000 hours, 3 hours a day is like a goal. For every person, it's different. I like to strive for practicing or playing for a couple hours a day, and I usually do that. I usually meet that goal. But for everyone, it's different. Like, for me, I learned how to play guitar and I was performing like within 6 months of when I first picked up a guitar. I performed in front of almost 2,000 people playing guitar in School of Rock. Because once you get proficient, that only makes it easier to get like mastery, you know?
Yeah.
It's just always important to keep going with it and make sure you maintain and grow your skills.
So, like, what do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? I don't have much time for fun, but I can tell you that, I don't know. I like to say exercise. Wait, I'll get there. I like to say, like, exercise is good. I like biking, you know, stretching, anything that, you know, I don't know. I like cooking. I redid my room, and like, because I slept in the bottom bunk of this bunk bed because I have step siblings that we used to all share this 3-bunk bed, and I slept in like the middle, and I had a cave, and it was just super cramped, and I outgrew it a couple years ago, but like only until like 2 weeks ago, no, like last week, I completely redid my room, and then like my creativity level was like spiked, and I just started cooking for some reason, and now I don't know, just like, it's just something that keeps your brain going, learning something new, have a hobby besides like your main thing. Wait, I'll get there, but but yeah, so yeah, and now I can cook good steaks, which is good. It's super random. Also, Fortnite is a really good way to, yeah, Fortnite. I play Fortnite. You'll get everyone in school to watch it, yeah.
So what instruments do you play again? Like,
Okay, so I play piano, which is my main instrument, guitar, bass, drums, ukulele, and I kind of played trumpet for a while, but like I don't count it as an instrument. I record all my my own demos, which is like a kind of like a rough draft of it's like kind of like a rough draft of a book, but music-wise, because you're like making it on like a garage band or something like that, and I make like these like fully laid out demos that are like pretty complex, and then when I go to the studio I have something to base my full recording off of, so that's why it helps to play so many instruments. But I'm trying to think. I also like act and I sing. Singing's another one of my main things. Obviously acting is like I do a lot of, but yeah. And I do that wise, yeah. And I've started dancing too, like hip hop dance, just because like if you're gonna be a performer you have to know how to move your body. Like I don't, so it's helping me. But yeah.
You sort of need to know, like, be a triple threat, like, if you want to make it in the business, too.
Acting, singing, instruments, and dancing. Quadruple threat. A good virtue, I guess, for acting and music is being really flexible and being really, like quick thinking, like being able to improvise, because in the show that I did, Dynasty, even though I was only in one scene, I was playing piano because it was supposed to be, I was the young version of one of the characters who plays piano as an adult in the show. So I had to play piano, being because that's just, what I do. But his young self the scene was him playing piano. So they gave me a piano piece in the mail. They emailed me this piano piece that they said, learn the first 30 seconds because that's what we're going to be filming. So I did. And then when I got to the set a couple days later, because this also, I got hired on the Tuesday, flew down the Thursday, and then filmed Friday, and then left Saturday morning, because that's just how it works with TV. But so when we got there Thursday, I had like that first 30 seconds completely memorized, and I was like so ready to film. And we had our first rehearsal with the director. He came in, he's like, just play the piece while we're setting up, so I did. And then at the end he goes, is that what they sent you? Because that's not what we really want. Here, let me show you the audio file. And I was like, what? And so he played this like extremely complicated piano piece in this audio file that was like it was a part of the song that wasn't included in the music they had sent me, which was really interesting. So, that was something to deal with. He's like, all right, we're gonna go film another scene. We'll be back in about an hour. Just try to memorize it. We could always overdub it. And I was like, no, I'm gonna memorize this because I'm stupid. So,
Did you end up doing it?
I ended up actually in that hour, memorizing it. I used the audio clip they gave me and the music they had sent me that was wrong, and kind of created like an in-between version that fit what they were doing, but wasn't so hard that it was something I couldn't do in that hour. And it ended up coming out, and they didn't overdub any music. They actually used the live clip from me playing, and it was cool. But yeah, flexibility. That looks into camera.
Do you maybe want to play something on one?
Sure, if you want me to.
I found a love for me, darling, just dive right in and follow my lead. And I found a girl, beautiful and sweet, and I never knew you were the someone waiting for me, 'cause we were just kids when we fell in love, not knowing what it was. I will not give you up this time.
Sí, sabes que ya llevo un rato mirándote. Sorry. Tengo que bailar contigo hoy. Vi que tu mirada ya estaba llamándome. Muéstrame el camino que yo voy. Tú eres el imán y yo soy el metal. Me voy acercando, voy armando el plan. Solo con pensarlo se acelera el pulso. Ya me está gustando más de lo normal. Todos mis sentidos van pidiendo más. Estoy aquí tomando sin ningún apuro. Despacito.
What was like the craziest thing that happened to you?
So craziest thing that happened besides meeting Bruno Mars and a lot of other people, which definitely I'll remember later, but like off the top of my head I can't. Craziest thing that happened was there was one time where I found out I was going on for a role mid-scene, and from the time that I found out I was going on to the time that I was on stage and saying lines was 4 minutes and 20 seconds, because that was just my job. I mean, one of the kids wasn't feeling well, so the guardian came up because we have guardians backstage that are like people that coordinate all the kids and are always kind of with them. And the guardian came up the stairs and she said, "Luke, you're on as Mason." So I put on the costume that was in the dressing room. That was like they always keep like costume basics there just in case. Because like every character wears the same pants as a boy and undershirt, and mic rack, like you wear like this kind of vest thingy underneath your like over your undershirt, and then you put the mic packs in there. But so I put that on and I did hair and finished getting dressed while walking down the stairs from the dressing rooms to the stage. And I put my shoes on actually right in like the very backstage area. I saw my friend, I said, "Hey," and I was like, "Feel better, dude." And I just went literally like, I was like, "So when should I go on?" I asked the stage manager, and the stage manager, Julie, she was like, just go now." And I was like, "Now?" She's like, "Go!" And I was like, So I literally just ran out onto the stage while the scene was already going on. Like, and was like, "Where do I go? Oh, my position." Yeah, there we go.